Hi, my name is Jennifer, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to factor the greatest common term from a polynomial. But before I show you our first example, let's talk about what the word factor means. Because if you're taking an algebra class, you're going to see that word quite often. If I gave you the number 24 and I asked you to factor 24, we could have a few answers. We could say the factors of 24 are 6 times 4. We could also say the factors of 24 are 8 times 3. Another factor would be 2 times 12. And another one is 1 times 24. All of these problems are considered factors of 24. So, if you see the word factor in the instructions in your math class, the word factor simply means to break the number back into a multiplication problem. So it's to take the original number, split it into 2, which is a multiplication problem, that would get you back to the original number. Okay, so let's try that same idea with this binomial. We have 4x minus 12. So the definition of factoring is to break the problem into a multiplication problem. To do that, we are going to look at each term to see if they have another term in common. This is also called greatest common factor. If we look carefully at the coefficient 4 and 12, you can see that they both have 4 in common. So 4 is going to be part of our multiplication problem. And here's how we'll write it. We'll write 4 down first because we've identified that to be our greatest common factor. Next, because this is an algebra class, most of the time we represent multiplication by drawing a set of parentheses. So our answer is going to be 4 times whatever is in this parentheses. Here's how we determine what's inside the parentheses. We go back to our original problem and we do a quick division problem in our head. 4x, when you divide a 4 out, you're left with an x. Negative 12, when you divide 4 out, you're left with a negative 3. And you can check our answer by doing this multiplication problem. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So the answer to this problem is 4 times x minus 3. Okay, let's look at our next problem. We have 24y squared minus 18. We're going to factor this problem, which means we're going to break this binomial into a multiplication problem. The first thing we look for is we're going to look at our coefficients to see if there's a greatest common factor. Is there a number that they both share that they can be evenly divided into? In this problem, 24 and 18 are both divisible by 6. So we're going to write 6 as the first part of our multiplication problem. Now in algebra, the way we symbolize multiplication is we put one number and the second number will be in a set of parentheses. Now let's try to find what's going to go in our parentheses. We're going to look at our first term of our problem, 24y squared, and we're going to divide it by 6 because we pulled 6 out of that first term. That leaves us with a 4y squared. Okay, I paused so that you could let me scoot my parenthesis over. Next, we're going to divide negative 18 divided by 6, which is a negative 3. Now we've created a multiplication problem. You should always check your answer to make sure it multiplies to the original problem. We have 6 times 4y squared, which is 24y squared, and 6 times negative 3, which is negative 18. So the answer to this problem is 6 times 4y squared minus 3. Okay, let's do one more problem together. Let's factor the trinomial 9x to the 4th plus 6x cubed plus 18x squared. Now remember, factoring means to break this problem into a multiplication problem. The first thing we need to look for is a greatest common factor. What do these three terms all have in common? As you can see, they do all have x terms, but let's look at the coefficients first. We have a 9, a 6, and an 18. All three of those numbers are divisible by 3. Next, as we pointed out before, they do all have x terms, but how many x terms do they have in common? This one is x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, and x squared. Even though this one has 4 x's, this one has 3, and this one has 2, we can only say they have 2 in common. So x squared will be our common term. Next, we're going to draw a set of parentheses that for this problem symbolize multiplication. And we're going to rewrite our trinomial inside the set of parentheses what it looks like after we've divided out the first part of our multiplication problem. If you take 9x to the 4th and you have factored out 3x squared, you're left with 3x squared. Next, if you have 6x cubed and you factor out 3x squared, you're left with a positive 2x. 18x squared, if you factor out the 3x squared, you're left with a positive 6. And I encourage you to check this answer by multiplying it back out. If we multiply 3x squared times 3x squared, we have our 9x to the 4th. 3x squared times positive 2x is our 6x cubed. 3x squared times positive 6 is our positive 18x squared. So the final answer to this problem is 3x squared times 3x squared plus 2x plus 6. Now, if you still have questions about this topic, please contact your professor, stop by the Math Tutoring Lab, or watch this video again.